Good day, everybody, and welcome to the behind-the-scenes conversations here at ESCO. We want to give you a sneak peek behind the scenes of ESCO's software development activities. My name is Jan de Roek, Marketing Director at ESCO. So you'll be able to meet a couple of my colleagues from our software engineering department. And who we have today amidst us is my colleague Hans de Witte. Hans and I, we go a long way back together, but Hans, good day to you. Would you mind introducing yourself quickly to our audience?
Yep. Hello, Jan. As you said, my name is Hans de Witte. We go a long time back. I joined ESCO 30 years ago, and my current function is Chief Software Architect.
You're indeed now part of our cloud computing team, if I may call it that way. The cloud computing is indeed, no matter how you look at it, one of these major movements in software development, I would say. Can you give us some insight in how does cloud computing actually help to solve some of the issues that our customers have?
Well, I think it works on three main problem areas: data, functionality, and computing power. It's actually a very complex undertaking to make packaging which is ready built for the store. And let's also not forget, this is work that needs to be first time right. So over time, a lot of technology was created to do so, and it maintains the data in a variety of different systems. Now, cloud systems do that better, in my opinion. So they try centralizing the data, hopefully storing it only once, and then you make it available all over what we call an API. So it's a way of calling the data in a secure way. This way giving you like a use many on the data that's stored only once. So we really want to lower the barrier there. And the way cloud can help there is to make those functions available over a web interface. That is, of course, easier said than done. So it's not just by applying cloud that you lower the barrier to the difficult design decisions that need to be taken by designers. So there's a lot of functionality change needed for that, clearly following what we call the pattern of task-oriented functions. So functions which are really tailored to the typical tasks that need to be done throughout the chain. And then the third big part is of course horsepower. We all know, and that's probably how we know cloud best, is it's a place where you can very rapidly get to a lot of more computing power. Why is that important for our customers? It's also packaging comes in bursts. So people make all kinds of projects where caused by external events. All of a sudden, large amounts of packaging need to be changed. When that needs computing power, a traditional company typically has difficulty reacting to that. If all of a sudden you need to add 1/3 or a quarter or half more of computers to your computer park, you would probably have to go through a capital expenditure process, which can take months, and by then your project had to be delivered already. Cloud solves that in a different way, of course. So it allows you to increase or decrease your available resources over a short period. And then, through a system like ESCO Cloud, we make such possibilities available to customers in an easier way. So a customer does not have to directly work with a cloud vendor like Amazon. Now, instead of that, we just make the functions available.
Yeah, indeed. Amazon is, as you mentioned, it is indeed our partner there. You indeed mention a lot of issues that I also hear a lot from our customers, especially the idea that they have to chase the data at the very start of the workflow is a lot of consuming a lot of time and effort. So throughout everything that you said so far, I always hear the word simplification. It makes it easier to access data, it makes it easier to share data, makes it easier to deploy applications. How exactly is ESCO using cloud technology to respond to all these challenges?
I think we're on two paths at the same time. There's a path working on our traditional applications. Then I'm mainly talking about the server type of application, so Web Center, Blue, MediaBeacon, and of course Automation Engine. Mm-hmm. And that part, we're moving it in largely its current architecture into the cloud. which means that we use cloud computing resources, so the actual computers. And we try breaking through a number of barriers of things like people don't have immediately new computers, so we can make it easier for people to get access to more computing power. You can add flexibility in the licensing system, and of course we also have the SaaS model, which means that we entirely take away the burden of managing the computer park and really can use the software as a service. A second part that we're working on is what we call ESCO Cloud, and there we have another principle. So instead of having a pre-allocation of resources, we go into a very big pool of resources that we're using for a large amount of applications. So, and that's really a game changer. So some people call that multi-tenancy. What it means in practice for a user is that he can get access to new functionality in less than a minute. The reason for that is that you don't really allocate anything. You're just pooling on things that already exist. So a good example there is Share and Approve. It's already available today. You can literally start a trial in 1 minute. You can up it and bring it down very quickly. We auto-update for you every 4 months. You hardly see it because it takes only 1 or 2 minutes. It can scale up to virtually infinity, but what is also very interesting, it scales down to virtually infinity, meaning to virtually zero. And in the future, the idea is that we add many more of those microservices. So these possibilities over that ESCO Cloud, possibly eventually replacing the previous part, but in reality, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. What do we expect to happen? And that's also the most important part for most of our current customers is the combination of the two. So the fact that certain of these new, very flexible services can be made available on a more traditional environment. It's relatively easy to imagine for somebody having automation engine. Imagine an automation engine if you have a workflow, that you have one of these workflow tasks that instead of running on your own pre-allocated computers, runs in that computing pool. That means that you can have many of these. For example, the many packshots that I talked about, you can put an awful lot of them into your workflow, and your computer park doesn't even feel it. And so that way we create an environment in which a larger set of what we call application development teams can create cloud applications. Each of them should run on a very small footprint so that the smallest system that we can create with it remains small, again, to be able to start up very quickly, and must also be able to scale out massively big, because we never know which part of the software will need to expand at a certain moment. And then, we start taking advantage of the magic features of cloud. Think of something like AWS S3. It's the place where you store big data. It's like a hard disk, but it's never full, it's fast, it's never broken, and you don't have to pre-allocate it. Just think of it. How much simplification that is for an IT environment. And this way, all of that gets orchestrated in such a way that it also is durable and available. So if an underlying computer is brought down or breaks, so we make sure with our team that all of ESCO Cloud is written in that way. And then it's for the other teams, of course, with their domain knowledge, to develop the applications that as best as possible take advantage of the infrastructure to create value for the customer.
Yeah, and value for the customer, that is exactly what we do it for. I remember from your conversation that you and your team, you're building actually the base cloud architecture so that the other teams can actually make use of the benefits that cloud technology actually brings to us. Thank you for sharing all this insight with us. And I must say that seeing the passion with which you talk about the subject, it feels to me like it must be a very rewarding task for you and your team. Thank you also to our audience, and thank you to Hans for giving us this sneak peek behind the scenes. And if and I'm sure we have triggered your interest in learning more about how we are developing software at ESCO, learning a little bit more of what happens behind the scenes of a a software development company. If that is the case, I'm very happy to invite you to also listen to the other and look at the other videos that we have in this series of videos. Thank you very much for now, and see you later.
Bye-bye.